Hey everyone, welcome back to Instagram Thursday.
That's right, it's Thursday. Nintendo has always had a reputation for doing things its own way, like making mountains of money on a game about picking fruit up off the ground and dealing with sassy-ass animals.
Yeah, and it looks like they're doing that again when it comes to game development crunch, aka working your employees to death to put out a fancy new game.
Yeah, Nintendo President Doug Bowser talked about the issue recently at E3 specifically as it related to the upcoming Animal Crossing New Horizons.
Yeah, tell us more about this new Animal Crossing, Lawrence.
God, I'd love to. Oh, I'm so jazzed. So yeah, the new Animal Crossing has been highly anticipated game for the new Switch. You might remember it was due to come out in 2019.
Yeah, what happened?
Those bastards delayed it. I want my logs!
I'm gonna live my life. I need my logs. In its E3 Direct, Nintendo said that it had been bumped back to March 20th of next year. Yeah, which happens all the time, you know, things get delayed, that's just the world. But Nintendo had a unique reason for delaying Animal Crossing that we just heard in a new interview.
So Nintendo of America President Doug Bowser said it's because they didn't want to crunch their employees to get it done sooner.
That's really nice of him. He talked to IGN about making sure that their employees had a good work-life balance, and an example of that is not bringing a game to market before it's ready, like with the Animal Crossing delay.
No, that's nice. Bowser added, quote, "It's really important that we have that balance in our world. It's actually something we're proud of."
Hey,
Get a little clap for that.
Yeah.
Hey,
Good guy, Bowser.
he's not exploiting human beings. We clap for that now.
2019, man. It's rough out there.
You know what? I'll wait 6 more months. Take care of your people, Nintendo. And that goes for every other video game company out there too.
Yeah,
Take
right?
care of your people.
Yeah.
We don't have enough video games, Bruce. It's not like my backlog is filled with 500 games that I'll never play in
Lawrence is right. We need more video games.
more!
I mean, this is a PR win and a half for Nintendo, especially with a parade of articles in the past year exposing crunch in game development and how widespread of an issue it is.
Lawrence, what do you have to say to Nintendo?
Hey, Nintendo, thank you. Hey, thank you for allowing these poor game developers to go home and pet their cats and, I don't know, crochet or take a hike or whatever game developers do when they're not living in video games. It sounds good on the surface,
Sounds
everything's
great.
rosy, but are they really the heroes that this story makes them out to be?
Yes. Oh.
We've got a Inside Gaming special report.
What? No, we don't.
It's just a normal episode.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, if we scratch away at the story a little bit, there may actually be a ton of business reasons that this delay makes sense. It might actually help Nintendo's bottom line. Does that mean Nintendo's claiming a moral victory for delay that was gonna happen anyway?
Those bastards!
How dare they?
Don't get mad just yet, but it's interesting to kind of toss the idea around, so let's get into it.
Let's go ahead and play devil's advocate, as we'd love to do here. So Nintendo delayed Animal Crossing to March of next year, which means that it's still releasing in Nintendo's current fiscal year.
Yeah, the delay is not going to affect Nintendo's financials for this year, the fiscal year, at all. So they're really not being that altruistic. They're going to squeeze it in before the very end of the fiscal year.
Sure.
If Animal Crossing wouldn't come out by the end of March, then we might see the whips actually come to bear on
Oh, they just put them away, yeah.
It's crunch lips.
Do you think they're on the wall at all times?
Yeah, just to remind people,
Yeah.
like, go home, but remember,
Yeah.
just tap the whip.
It's like, notice you've been taking a little bit of a long coffee break there, hero.
It's on. Let me just...
No, it's January. We might have to break out those whips again.
Just saying, just making conversation. How are the kids? So releasing in March to squeeze launch revenues in a fiscal year is a common practice these days. Hell, Nintendo even did it for the Switch hardware itself. It launched on March 3rd, 2017.
Also, games like God of War have shown that you can release a game in the spring season and it'll still be a really big bestseller.
Other studios have noticed this too, and we're seeing more big name games now releasing in March of 2020, like Watch Dogs Legion and the first installment of the Final Fantasy VII remake, though we should just be calling it a reimagining, I think. A lot of people pointed that one out.
But that's the title of the game.
I know,
remake,
but
right?
yeah, we have to call it what it is, I understand, but
Yeah.
remake.
So while a March release means that Animal Crossing will still hit Nintendo's 2019 fiscal year, that means it will have more competition now, which might actually hurt its retail performance than if it kept its original release date, right, Lawrence?
So Nintendo's back to being a hero? Yeah, hold on, it's gonna wiggle back and forth a little bit. On top of that, the holiday season is still far and away the most profitable time for the video game industry. The months of November and December far outpace any other month when it comes to selling games, according to sales data from Statista.
Hey.
Old Statista.
Okay.
Love those guys. Maybe Nintendo's actually leaving money on the table by delaying Animal Crossing, so they're heroes again!
All right, hey, good job, Nintendo. Sacrificing money for your employees. That's very nice.
Not yet! Got something
okay,
else
all
here.
right.
There's another reason the delay could actually still serve Nintendo's monetary interests.
It's possible that Nintendo didn't want Animal Crossing to compete with another big Switch game that's coming out this fall. That's Pokemon Sword
and Shield. That would make a lot of sense, actually, given that the two games are both huge sellers for the company. Nintendo has a legacy of focusing on all the promotional efforts on one big release at a time.
Launching two big games like that in the same window would muddy up Nintendo's promotional efforts, perhaps. Now they have some breathing room around each release to do dedicated directs, marketing campaigns, TV ads, press tours, and so on and so forth. It's how it goes.
Yeah, we obviously don't work at Nintendo, so this is kind of all guesswork, right, Lawrence?
Yeah, Yeah, we're just throwing it out there. It's part of our intent to sort of understand the business reasons behind these decisions.
Yeah.
We certainly don't want to discount the humanitarian efforts by Nintendo to be kind to their developers. It's always
really
a
great.
wonderful thing. It's just interesting to wonder how much of it is lip service and how much of it is just getting a PR win off the back of an actual business decision. It is hard to escape the feeling that Nintendo wouldn't have allowed this delay in the first place if it would be disastrous to their bottom line, because they are a company after all.
of course.
After looking at the current landscape, it's interesting to note the benefits that Nintendo will actually enjoy by delaying the game, in addition to not outright murdering their own staff for the sake of a holiday release.
Hey, Asaka, I've been went whip shopping this weekend. What did you do?
Spend time with your kids. Interesting.
Oh, interesting. Okay, well, you
Didn't
know.
work on a
enjoy-
prototype,
yeah.
nothing?
Did a box come for me while I was out? It should say whips.
Yeah, stamped on the side.
Hey, enjoy your weekend, though.
Yeah, hey.
Enjoy your
Take it
weekend.
easy.
Whatever the reason for delaying Animal Crossing, there's no doubt that crunch has long been a problem in the gaming industry, which is why this story is so topical right now.
Crunch has made headlines again and again after employees at some of the biggest studios like Epic Games and Rockstar complained about the work hours required to push out games.
Polygon reported that the big growth of Fortnite led to months of crunch for Epic employees and contractors, saying they regularly worked more than 70-hour weeks.
They need to give games to the streamer so they can complain about it on Twitter. And last year at Rockstar, there was a mini controversy after one of the studio heads said they regularly put out 100-hour work weeks on Red Dead Redemption 2.
More recently, Variety published an expose about all the crunch involved in Mortal Kombat 11, right, Lawrence?
Yeah, one employee at NetherRealm Studios said that he and others at the studio worked 60 to 70 hours per week since January. And even after Mortal Kombat 11 was released, the crunch still continued as employees worked to patch things like glitches, exploits, and to fix issues involving the game's currencies, of which there are many. Some full-timers even said that they were living in the studio, literally sleeping on offices or inflatable sofas.
How convenient.
So yeah, the narrative is here that this has just kind of been accepted in game development for a long time. It's just been kind of a quiet thing, and in a way, we as the consumers have been benefiting from that overwork. Now that these articles are coming out, we can be a little more aware of some of the bad practices that are leading to create the products that we enjoy for a low price.
Which is good.
Not surprisingly, this has led to more people discussing the possibility of unionizing in the games industry.
Okay.
Interesting. Do you think this is why Nintendo's like, hey, chill, it's okay, we don't want a union, just relax.
They
It's
definitely
okay.
don't want a union.
Work the hours you need to get this thing done, no union. We just want you to finish this game union bad.
Whip's good, but union bad.
Whips pro. Union no.
It's a banner hanging above them.
Oh my gosh, none of that happened in Nintendo, guys. Don't worry. It's also led some developers to talk more about the issue of crunch and long work hours.
Right, Bethesda's director Todd Howard told IGN recently that, quote, we've been through every type of crunch you can imagine. He said that in the past, some crunch was very difficult for a lot of us personally with your time and your health and things like that.
He said that Bethesda's gotten much better at managing crunch, but he did say he thought that every game deserves some amount of crunch at the very end.
That's kind of the thing. All this discussion about crunch is revealing that a lot of game developers and companies think that it's inevitable. And it's more about minimizing it, but not getting rid of it entirely. I've never worked in game development, apart from making some JavaScript demos in my college dorm room.
That's not working in game development.
No. It's the idea of examining that thought process and maybe asking a question, maybe it's not necessary. Maybe the market can sustain a humane work week and products that release when they're ready as opposed to having to hit a release calendar.
No unions.
Well, Todd Howard has some additional thoughts for you, Lawrence. I wish James was here. Some amount of that is healthy to leave it all on the field because it's important to us. It's important to our fans. You've just got to make sure it's communicated really well.
I think what he's trying to say is basically if you're working towards a deadline, which a lot of creative people do, then it's easier to then be like, okay, well, we did it. We put it out. I think that's kind of what he's trying to say.
Yeah, but when you put out something like Fallout 76 where the treadmill, there is no getting off the treadmill.
I wonder if they crunched that game.
I'm sure they did.
I'm sure there
That's the sad part.
In a really weird anecdote, this little sidebar here, only in our little weird industry, the games media sort of thing, we have crunch around holidays and those sorts of things where we're basically studios closed, so we have to put in extra work so that we can then take time off, which it sort of evens itself out. We work around deadlines too. We did that for years.
Absolutely, we
We
did.
would stay late on Fridays getting stuff done to put it out through the weekend. So it's like we've all been there. It's always for, I guess, the greater good.
It's a series of mini crunches because we put out videos every day. I have to put in 10 hours a day sometimes, just cuz. And that's basically a bi-weekly occurrence.
I had to go to E3.
I had to sacrifice that for you guys.
We all did. Nintendo has addressed crunch in the past, though. At E3 last year, good old friend Reggie was asked about work-life balance, and he said that Nintendo's approach was to add more employees to deal with a crunch situation.
Yeah, he said, quote, we're not asking people to go for a couple days without sleep. We're not asking people to ignore their family and friends and their social life. We're not asking people to do things that are unhealthy. Whips are on the wall, though.
Just
That's
there,
not a
there.
question. That's
Yeah,
just a
it's
display.
odd. And Nintendo deserves some credit for all this, right, Lawrence?
Yeah, it's no secret that the Switch needs some big first-party games this year to help keep the Switch sales strong. And Animal Crossing definitely falls into that category.
Yeah.
You could easily see a studio cracking that old whip to get the game done before this holiday season.
Yeah, just stretching over here near this whip.
This also seems to be in line with Nintendo's recent policy of being a bit more transparent about what goes on behind behind the scenes, so they deserve a lot of credit for that too. You might remember earlier this year, Nintendo announced that it was rebooting development of Metroid Prime 4, saying the current version wasn't up to snuff.
No!
They could have behind the scenes just like leaned over and said, "You finish that game." Fans seem to appreciate the honesty and actually took it pretty well, even if it means that we won't be getting a new Metroid Prime for a while. A lot of game companies are kind of scared of talking to their fans now because you guys can get bad.
Are you talking to a mirror right now? What are you doing?
A little bit. I see myself in the lens, but I think Nintendo, more than any other company really, is proving that if you just level with them directly and honestly, sure, you're gonna get some people who yell at you. I saw a bit of that on Twitter, to be honest, of people saying, "No, you finished my Animal Crossing right now, you son of a you cared about me and you cared about games, you would do it." Right. You kind of need the bravery to just shrug that off and realize that they're gonna buy it no matter what because they're insane. This is an opportunity to see if series fans will actually be understanding about the delay or if they just want their product on time for a low price no matter what the human cost is behind the scenes.
I mean, I think Autumn's probably the biggest fan in this room. Are you willing to put up with this wait?
No.
She's gonna buy the out of it. Some people on Reddit are wondering if this is all a PR stunt to put the best spin on the delay.
Yeah, one person who calls themselves Primeval Wolf said they were an ex-game tester for Nintendo, and they claim that they crunched the hell out of people back in the day.
Yeah, Primeval Wolf, you want to howl again? Claimed that it was, quote, not uncommon for Nintendo to make us work 80 to 120 hour weeks only to be let go immediately after the game release.
So maybe Nintendo is still crunching people and this is just all a PR spin. Who knows? Are we that cynical?
I mean, if he's QA, I hate to say it, but they're largely seen as very disposable. If you're a QA monkey, I mean, I think Nintendo's kind of talking about their more maybe invested in development staff to make the game. So yeah, sorry, if you're just running test cases over and over and over again, that's not really seen as skilled labor.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Closers get whips.
They typically don't have high turnover in their game development studios, so that's a good sign that they actually do treat their people well. So yeah, either Nintendo's on the right side of crunch these days, or they have a brilliant PR person.
They hired a guy named Bowser.
Chef kisses for that.
Yeah.
Either way, can't wait for that Animal Crossing.
Autumn, huh?
Yeah.
You game developers think you got it bad? I got to sell like 1,500 apples just to build an expansion on my tent.
That's the game they made.
1,500.
Where am I gonna put my beds?
0. That's a lot of apples.
Somebody sent me a new wallpaper. I don't have any walls to put it on. Now I gotta build a second story on my tent.
You can take the furniture outside, everybody.
You know, I used to not think you guys were the everymen, but here you are.
Can't wait to pole vault.
Weird.
And good old John Romero's back, making what looks like a Depression-era gangster game called Empire of Sin that's out next spring. And No More Heroes 3! We did it.
These are all games that Lawrence will play and enjoy.
Yeah. This was a press conference solely for Lawrence, so
Basically,
that's
yeah.
pretty good, yeah. But what about ports, you may be asking? Don't worry. Oh, we got so many.